Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Community Connections. We are super excited to have you joining us today. We have an exciting class, a delicious class, nutritious class as always. So thank you for joining us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I am the wellness chef for the Cancer Rehabilitation and Survivorship Program. And joining me, as always, the amazing registered dietitian, Daniela Ferrini. Hello, Daniela.
Hello, Jeremy. Hello. Lovely to see you again today. And yes, today is an exciting class. We thought we would showcase the health benefits of eating the Mediterranean way. It aligns beautifully with the cancer prevention guidelines, and it also incorporates anti-inflammatory foods. And many people always ask us about that because we see cancer as being a chronic condition, a chronic inflammatory condition. So we get lots of questions about that. So we thought featuring the Mediterranean way of eating is a perfect fit. And Jeremy, as per usual, has created 3 amazing recipes for us today: a comforting cannellini bean soup, tuna salad nori wraps, and blueberry chestnut cornmeal skillet cake, which I'm dying to learn more about, and my mouth is watering as it is. Before we get started, though, I just want to mention that we know that cancer and cancer treatment can change what and how you eat, how your body works, even how you feel about food. And there may be some foods or nutrients that we talk about today that you cannot eat right now. So we'll try to provide some ingredient options, but also if you are seeing a dietitian or there's some things that don't fit with what you've been told, please check it out with your healthcare team. Okay. And now, without further ado, we'll start with our first recipe, which is the comforting cannellini bean soup. So eating the Mediterranean way means eating lots of foods from plants. And this is similar to the guidelines for cancer prevention that promote a plant-based diet, or a plant-forward diet, as I seem to hear them calling it now. The Medi diet goes one step further, though. It actually says have legumes 3 times per week. And so this recipe combines the protein and fiber goodness of cannellini beans, which is a legume, which is a plant protein, which is also known as dried peas and beans, with the classic Medi way of flavoring, which is a tomato, onion, and garlic. This not only boosts the flavor, it also boosts the health protective content of this scrumptious soup. Basing your diet on whole plant foods is also in keeping with the principles of the anti-inflammatory way of eating. So let's get back into the kitchen with Jeremy.
Thank you, Daniela. Wonderful. So yes, we are inspired by the Mediterranean diet today. Bountiful ingredients, so lots to choose from. And to start it off, we're going to go with a really nice sort of comfort soup. This is a nice bean-based soup. Super simple. So when I think of Mediterranean diet too, that's I think one thing as well that my mind leads to is more simple cooking, but highlighting those few ingredients to really maximize flavor and really sort of put that ingredients in the forefront, right? So we're making this really nice simple bean soup. You can definitely go through the process of using dried beans and soaking and reconstituting them and getting them ready to go. You can definitely go on the more convenient side, which I'm going to be doing today with just canned beans, just rinse and dry them. But to start, we are going to get the flavor going. So like Daniela mentioned, really classic trio for flavor here. We are using some onion. Here we go. Onion, some garlic, and some tomato. This is just a tomato puree, or you might see it as a passata in the grocery store. It's just essentially the tomato blended without the seeds and the strained of the skins and the seeds, right? So just a puree there. So the first thing we want to do with this flavor, or with these ingredients, is we're going to start off with the onion and the garlic. And I've just roughly minced the garlic with the onion. You can finely chop it. And the key here is I want to cook these ingredients down to really, really maximize the flavor. So again, I'm not adding a ton of different spices and flavorings, keeping it simple, but to really maximize the flavor of the ingredients that we have, I want to caramelize them a little bit. I want to get some color on them. I want to cook them down. So what I've done here with my chopped onion and chopped garlic is I added them to my pot here on the side, which you can see. I'm going to bring you in for a close look. And with a couple tablespoons of olive oil, I just cooked them down until really soft, and you're starting to see a little bit of color on there as well. It smells amazing in this kitchen. So sorry again, Daniela, you're gonna have to suffer this one, but we have some really, really good flavor going. So we've taken these two simple ingredients and just really enhance the flavor by just slowly cooking them down. So I have them on a pretty low heat, and you can cook them for like 8 minutes, 10 minutes even, just to really, really maximize the flavor. Do I have to do that for that length of time? No, you can definitely, cook them for a couple minutes. You're still gonna get the flavor, but this is just giving you some options. I really want to maximize that base flavor, lower heat, and just let them cook away. Okay, and then at this point, we can keep it again very simple. We can add, if we want, some dried oregano, some dried herbs. That would be lovely. I had a little rosemary plant here that has been doing really well, even in the basement, surprisingly enough. So I took a little sprig of rosemary. I have some dried bay leaf. I had some thyme, leftover thyme as well from a class. And so what I'm going to do, and again, this is optional. You can just use your regular pantry dried herbs and add a little bit of that. But I figured, we'll show you something a little different. So we're going to bundle these together with a little bit of butcher's twine. And so make sure it's, your butcher's twine or cooking twine. You don't want to use like wrapping ribbon or a shoelace. That would not work. But cooking twine, I think, is a good one. And
what if you don't have cooking twine? I guess we can put it in.
You can just put them in,
Yeah.
Loose, and that's fine. And then you just fish them out after. With the cooking twine, it keeps them all bundled together. We call this in French a bouquet garni. And this way you can sort of let it do its work in terms of flavoring your ingredients, and then you can just pull it out afterwards. So I'm just going to throw it in whole, just like that. And we'll stir this around. Because they're woodier herbs, because of the rosemary and the thyme, I don't want this in for too long because that can overpower the flavor. But at this point here, after my onions and garlic cook down a little bit, it can go most of the way through. And then the tomato's going to go in next. I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons. I don't need too much, but again, I want to treat this the same way that I treated the garlic and the onions. I want this to cook down so it thickens up a little bit, and again, that's going to just really maximize and enhance the flavor. Remember, we're just making a bean soup, a very, very simple bean soup. The beans do not come, with loaded with flavor, so we're sort of trying to do our best to enhance that. All right, so I'm going to add about 4 good tablespoons. And we'll stir that through. I'm going to let this cook down a little bit as well.
Jeremy, do you think this is a good time to talk about nightshade? Yeah. So Jeremy and I talked about this because many times people will come forward to us and ask about nightshade vegetables, avoiding nightshade vegetables because it increases inflammation. And so because eating the Mediterranean way, it says flavor foods with tomato, onion, and garlic at least 2 times per week, we thought we'd take a little bit of a deeper dive. And so I did a bit of research on this and looked also at what they have available from the Arthritis Society and associations. And, it's still a controversy. So your nightshade vegetables, which also include fruits, include the tomatoes, bell peppers, chili peppers too, regular potatoes, not sweet, tomatillos, golden berries, goji berries, and eggplant. And the concern is something called alkaloids. Now, alkaloids in very large amounts can be a concern, but what is available in these vegetables that I just mentioned and fruits is very low, and it makes eating them very safe. And there's a 2023 report on arthritis. It says that the research is still inconclusive on nightshades increasing inflammation. And so basically, don't stop eating your tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers just yet. With that said, though, if you feel strongly that when you have these foods, it does bother you or there's an increase in pain, then they suggest a dietary experiment. And this is from the Arthritis Foundation. They suggest that you avoid the specific food for 2 weeks, see how you feel, and then add it back to a meal. If the arthritic symptoms or the pain increases, then maybe you do have a sensitivity and you adjust the diet accordingly. But to eliminate it without testing, you're eliminating a lot of nutritious foods from the diet, because tomatoes, they contain lycopene, which is an excellent antioxidant. And then you're getting a lot of other phytochemicals. You've heard me talk about phytochemicals before. Basically chemicals that come from plants that may have health protective benefits against cancer. So that's my little spiel on nightshades, and I'll turn it back to Jeremy.
Thanks, Neela. Yes, yeah, we do often get questions about nightshades, so thanks for providing that. Really, really helpful. Okay, so we have that onion, that garlic, and then tomato puree that's been cooked down to like almost like a thick paste. There's some run to it, and you can let this go even a little bit further if you want. Just keep an eye on it because you don't want to burn or stick to the bottom of the pan. But I'm happy with that consistency there. It smells amazing, super sort of umami, savory, that really, really nice flavor. And then those herbs in there are working as well. And then at this point, I can go ahead and add my beans. Again, cannellini beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, whatever you like. You can go ahead. You can even do lentils. The intention is really for it to be a very simple, very hearty soup using pantry ingredients, right? These are some using ingredients that more commonly found in your kitchen, right? You probably have some garlic, some onion, maybe some canned beans, and then just adding some accents of flavor to really, really boost that. So the beans go in, and then I can go ahead and add my broth. I again use what's convenient. If you just have water, go ahead and add water. This is a veggie broth. You can add a chicken broth, whatever you like. That, and then I'm going to add some greens. So again, using what's convenient. This is just some frozen spinach. I'll add some frozen spinach to that. Put a cup.
And as we've talked about before, frozen vegetables have the same nutrition as fresh. So keep it in your pantry.
Beautiful. All right, and let's bring this up to a simmer. And because the beans are already cooked, because they're drained and rinsed, don't need too much time. But here is where I would sort of taste and season, make your adjustments as needed. But from this point on, maybe a few minutes. And once it comes up to a simmer, you let it simmer for a few minutes, and then you're good to go. Now, if we wanted to accent the flavors, make them punch even a little bit more, we can add some Parmesan cheese on top. That's a nice little sharp cheese. Or if you have some other herbs, you could throw that. This is something that if we had like some fresh basil or some fresh parsley, you can make this really sort of rustic, it's not really a pesto, but it's essentially just a finely chopped herb with a little bit of olive oil to sort of dab on top of your soup, and you can kind of stir it in. And this is that idea of that fresh, that nice little fresh finish. Like we have the garlic and the onion and the tomato that we've cooked down and concentrated, and then those woody herbs. So that's going to give it some really nice, rich depth of flavor. But at the end, you want it to, you know, some nice freshness, something nice and light to lift it up. So I have some basil here, and I will just stack the leaves. I'll roll it up, and then with my knife, I'll just carefully slice against the lengthwise, so against that roll. And the technical term of this would be a chiffonade, but
Say that again.
a chiffonade,
A chiffonade.
yeah, chiffonade. They're all French terms, culinary terms. I don't know what the Italian equivalent this would be.
No idea.
Finely chopped, we could just say. And you can even use, like, if you're not super comfortable with your knife, you can even clip them with scissors. Like I've seen that as a technique, and it works really, really well. So just sort of snip it with scissors just until it's nice and fine. And we'll put it in our bowl here. And so again, instead of like going the whole way through with to make a pesto, you could just finely chop some herbs. Just a little bit of oil. And stir that through. And that's it. So we have our nice little basil oil to finish soup with. All right, I think we're ready to plate this.
And the olive oil is actually another important feature of the Mediterranean way of eating. And it's also prominent in the anti-inflammatory diet, because olive oil does have some properties in it that can help reduce inflammation.
And so it's nice again. So here's where you kind of taste and see, but the herbs, the bouquet, because of the butcher's twine, it sticks together. So it's easy to remove at that point. And we are ready to plate. And again, just like a few simple ingredients, but my mouth is already watering. And it you know, really is sort of treating your few ingredients with just a little more care. But this, and then we'll top it with just a little bit of that fresh basil. Again, you would sort of add as you need. Taste it. Stir through. We have our really simple but comforting Cannellini bean soup.
Beautiful and hydrating too. We sometimes forget that soup fits in with our fluid needs, so that's great. Looks amazing.
Absolutely. And one thing I'll mention as well, this is a little on the brothy side. One thing that's commonly done with a soup like this is if you want it a little bit thicker, remember the beans, that starch adds that it's a thickener essentially, right? So what you can do is par blend it. I've seen this done a few times, sometimes in soup. Just blend a little
My
bit.
favorite tool.
Yeah, couple pulses, or if you don't have an immersion blender like this, you can just scoop out with a ladle, scoop out some of the beans into a bowl and just mash them with a fork, and then incorporate that back in. Okay, now what you have is here, same soup, obviously, it's no magic here, but it because some of the beans have been pureed, it is a little bit thicker. So we got a little bit more body to it, not as loose as if you didn't blend it. So a couple ways in which you can finish the dish.